This paper titled, Conformational Landscape of Long Semiflexible Linear and Ring Polymers Near Attractive Surfaces, explores the conformational behavior of crowded neutral semiflexible polymers under confinement near an attractive wall. The authors investigate the effects of polymer length, bending rigidity, and Crowder density on the equilibrium conformations of these polymers. They find that the length of the polymer determines the number of distinct conformations it can adopt when adsorbed on the wall, suggesting that previous studies focusing on short polymers may be limited. The authors also demonstrate that increasing Crowder density effectively reduces the bending rigidity of the polymers. At the highest Crowder density considered, a crumpled conformation of the wall-adsorbed polymer is observed, regardless of its semiflexibility. Furthermore, the authors compare the conformational behavior of linear semiflexible polymers with that of ring polymers. They find that crowded ring polymers exhibit less diversity in their conformational landscape compared to linear polymers. Additionally, the presence of Crowders affects ring polymers differently than their linear counterparts. The introduction highlights the importance of studying the conformational landscape of semiflexible biopolymers, such as DNA, actin, and microtubules, which are commonly found in a condensed state inside biological cells. These polymers often interact with surfaces and are subject to confinement and crowding conditions. Understanding the role of Crowders and confinement on the conformational behavior of semiflexible polymers is crucial for understanding their function in biological systems. The authors note that previous studies on polymer adsorption on surfaces have primarily focused on flexible polymers and have not taken into account the presence of Crowders or the semiflexibility of the polymers. Therefore, the specific contributions of this paper lie in investigating the effects of crowding, confinement, and polymer topology on the adsorbed polymer conformations. Overall, this introduction sets the stage for the subsequent sections of the paper, highlighting the gaps in existing knowledge and the importance of the author's research in understanding the conformational behavior of long semiflexible polymers near attractive surfaces. Polymer conformations in the absence of Crowders. The first figure in the paper shows the conformations of a semiflexible polymer in the absence of Crowders. The authors investigate the effects of bending rigidity on the conformation of the polymer. They find that for smaller values of the bending rigidity, K equals 10, the polymer adopts an arc-like conformation, forming curved structures. As the length of the polymer increases, it forms a donut-like desorbed coiled, D-coil, conformation. For higher bending rigidities, K equals 20, 50, the polymer assumes an adsorbed multiloop, AML, conformation, forming more compact structures. The authors also observe that the shape of the polymer depends on its length and the size of the confinement. For smaller polymers in a larger confinement, they form extended and adsorbed arc-like conformations. For larger polymers in a smaller confinement, they form more complex and compact conformations. Effects of Crowder density on polymer conformations. The second figure in the paper explores the effects of Crowder density on the conformations of a long semiflexible polymer. The authors find that as the Crowder density increases, the polymer undergoes conformational changes. At low Crowder densities, the polymer forms an adsorbed layered, AL, conformation, where it coats the surface of the confining sphere. At higher Crowder densities, it collapses and forms an adsorbed collapsed, AC conformation. The authors also analyze the pair radial distribution function between monomers and Crowders, and observe that as the Crowder density increases, the monomer-Crowder interactions become more pronounced. They also measure the radius of gyration, fraction of adsorbed monomers, and height of the adsorbed polymer. They find that as the Crowder density increases, the polymer becomes more compact and the fraction of adsorbed monomers increases. The height of the adsorbed polymer also increases with Crowder density. Effects of bending rigidity on polymer conformations. The third figure in the paper investigates the effects of bending rigidity on the conformations of the polymer. The authors find that as the bending rigidity increases, the polymer assumes more extended states. This leads to better adsorption and larger size of the polymer. They plot the radius of gyration, fraction of adsorbed monomers, and height of the adsorbed polymer as a function of bending rigidity. They observe that for lower values of the bending rigidity, there is a non-monotonic behavior in the radius of gyration and fraction of adsorbed monomers. The height of the adsorbed polymer remains constant regardless of bending rigidity at lower Crowder densities. However, at higher Crowder densities, the height increases slightly with increasing bending rigidity. Effects of closed topology on polymer conformations. The fourth figure in the paper compares the conformations of a linear polymer and a ring polymer with the same length. The authors find that the closed topology of the ring polymer restricts the variety of conformations compared to the linear polymer. The ring polymer does not form an adsorbed collapsed, AC, conformation, which is observed in the linear polymer at high Crowder densities. Instead, the ring polymer forms adsorbed layered, AL, or adsorbed multiloop, AML, conformations. The ring polymer also shows better adsorption and larger size compared to the linear polymer. The authors analyze the radius of gyration, fraction of adsorbed monomers, and height of the adsorbed polymer for both linear and ring polymers, and observe differences in these parameters between the two topologies. The conclusion of this scientific paper is that the conformational landscape of a polymer is influenced by the bending rigidity and Crowder density under confinement. The study used large-scale molecular dynamic simulations to investigate the behavior of linear and ring polymers in a poor solvent condition. The results showed that the formation of loops in semi-flexible polymers is affected by the presence of Crowder molecules. The study also found that the adsorption behavior of linear and ring polymers is different under the influence of Crowders. Additionally, the study suggests that the size and polydispersity of Crowder particles, as well as the flexibility of the confinement wall, may have significant effects on the conformation of polymers. These findings contribute to a better understanding of how crowding and confinement influence the behavior of polymers in biological and physical systems. If you are an author or copyright holder for the work presented in this video and you have any issue with the existence or contents of this video, please let me know.